Good morning or good afternoon, whichever one it is for you. Unfortunately, I'm sharing this presentation virtually due to COVID-19 and having to cancel the original sessions. However, this presentation is being done by Marcus Rogers. I am a business and marketing teacher at Taylor County High School, also the DECA advisor. This was originally going to be session 2 of a 4-part series with 4 different sessions in it that myself and 3 other teachers across the state had been working to put together for you guys, and it was going to be at a standalone presentation and then also at summer conference. But without further ado, this is session 2. I am going to make reference to a couple other sessions. I don't want to take away from their sessions. I simply just want to point out that if you want more information, they're going to go more in depth into that area than I personally am in this presentation, but they all go hand in hand. But I've got listed in there which one you need to see if you need deeper information on that. But without further ado, this is DECA Curriculum Resources by Marcus Rogers. All right, what are we going to do in this? Just like any teacher, we've got to have our goals or our objectives. First, we're going to make a solid connection between the MBA research and the DECA curriculum. They do go hand in hand, and I want to show you that. I'm also going to give you tangible take-home resources that you can actually use. You're going to walk away from this with tools that you did not have before. And last but not least, we're going to distinguish between this session and session 4 that talks about test and role play practices in the classroom. I'm going to basically point them out to you and show you how to access them, but then in session 4, it's going to take a deeper dive into some best practices of actually how to incorporate that into your classroom, which I'm not going to be going over with you. That will be in session 4. So there's what we're going to cover in the next few minutes. Something I do want to point out that you need to know before we get started, I like using QR codes. This is a QR code if you're not familiar with it. The coolest thing about them, a lot of people think that you have to have a QR code reader. That's incorrect if you have an iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you can simply take out your iPhone, click on the camera button just like you were going to take a photo, hover over the QR code that you see on your screen right now, and that will actually pop up a Safari link on the top of your screen. You don't have to take a photo of it. You literally just pull it up in the viewfinder on your camera and then click that link, and it's going to take you to the website. So you can go ahead and practice that now. That is a working QR code at the bottom of the screen. That will actually take you to this presentation, and I have it open for anybody to see. I don't think you can edit it, but if you want to go back and reference and look through this Prezi at a slower pace than what I'm going through it, then you're welcome to. So there is the link to this presentation. If you have any questions about it, you're welcome to contact me. All right, let's get started. Did you know, this is going to go in order with the objectives that I stated earlier on, that DECA competition events are anchored by the national standards and are designed to take advantage of the MBA research curriculum. Let me put that in everyday language. MBA research is what you should be using in your classroom, and it goes hand in hand with DECA competitions. If you are teaching MBA research curriculum, you are also teaching all year long the DECA competitive events information that your students are going to need. MBA research and DECA go hand in hand. Hopefully you already knew that, but if not, you do now. So what does that actually mean for me? It means that I should be doing the following 3 things. The first is I need to focus on performance indicators. If you're like me, and when you were a new DECA advisor, for me that was just 2 years ago, I did not know what a performance indicator was until I made it to regional competitions. Nobody ever told me. I didn't know that I need to be focused on them, but here I am telling you that you need to be focused on performance indicators. Andrea will be going into greater detail in session 3 about performance indicators, but in short, the MBA research performance indicators are the basis for the DECA test, the DECA role plays, the DECA case studies, and also for the DECA school-based enterprise certification. If you're not familiar with that, that is where you have a school store. For us at Taylor County High School, we have several school stores: Cardinal Kroger, Cardinal Financial Center, Fancy That, the Greenhouse. All of them, if they choose to, can compete in DECA's school-based enterprise certification program. Currently, Cardinal Kroger has a 19-year streak of being a gold level certified school-based enterprise. Regardless of what event you're competing in with DECA, whether it be a test or a role play or case studies or the SBE, they will follow the MBA research performance indicators. All of the MBA research products help students master those performance indicators. If you integrate MBA research resources into your classroom, then you will also be preparing your students for success at DECA. The performance indicators are informed and validated by the business community. There's a group of people, not just MBA research employees, but they are going out and getting basically a peer review style validation for all the performance indicators. Here is a screenshot of what a performance indicator looks like. And I've taken that straight from MBA research. All right, if you have been to a DECA competition before, this should look familiar to you. This is the cover sheet for what you're going to be seeing at DECA. And you can see on the top right, it breaks it down as to what the career cluster is and what the instructional area is. But what I really want to point out, hop down to the 21st century skills and the performance indicators. Those performance indicators are what I'm talking about so far. They are word for word the same that MBA research uses. They are also word for word the same as what you're going to see on the judge's evaluation form for DECA. So I'm going to go back and forth here a couple times. I want you to look underneath performance indicator where it says number 1, explain the nature of effective written communication. The judge will be using that to evaluate your student's ability. Let's go back. On the performance indicator, look at bullet point 1. Explain the nature of effective written communication. That is word for word the exact same as what the judge's sheet says. Here's the catch. Let's say your student is doing a role play at DECA. When they get their time allotted to them to start prepping, this is going to be the front of the page that they're handed. A lot of students make the mistake of immediately turning it over to the back side or going to the second page where they see their prompt. They want to immediately start reading the prompt and coming up with their ideas on how to fix it. I teach all of my students that they should not flip over the page until they review all 4 of the 21st century skills and all of the performance indicators, and I tell them that they must answer and pinpoint each one of those because that's how the judge is going to grade them. So go and let's put ourselves in the place of a judge. Here's our judge sheet. This is the only way that we can score a student. We can't say, oh, a student had a great idea on how to overcome the problem if it wasn't a part of 1 through 7 or 8 through 12. Let me say that again. We are telling our students at DECA competition exactly what the judge wants to hear. The judge wants to hear, look at the performance indicator, they want to hear that the student knows about effective written communication. So the student needs to make it very clear to the judge that they know about written communication and how it can be done effectively. I also teach my students that in their pitch to the judge, they need to go in order of those bullet points because that makes it really easy on the judge that they can go down their sheet and be like, oh my goodness, this student knows like exactly what I want to hear. Yes, they do because we literally tell them before they go in front of the judge. So that's just my tip. That's how I teach all my students. If you don't like that, then you can keep doing your own way, but that's just my tip. There's your resource. Hopefully you can integrate that into DECA competition. Next, we want to use the MBA Research Learning Center. I use the Learning Center for all my classes. You just learned about this from Kathy in session 1, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. If you want more detail, you can see Kathy's session. But it is mobile and user-friendly. It can also be used on the computer if you don't want to use it mobile. There's tons of information on there. You know all about this, hopefully. Hopefully you're already using them. Over 300 laps. Interactive activities, engaging reading, presentations that are ready to go, discussion guides, built-in assessments, activities for role play practice, and so forth. Hopefully you already are using that. Next, we want to build confidence by using that MBA research assessments that come along with everything that they offer right here. We want to actually use those assessments in our classroom. Why? Because that is where DECA gets the same information for their test. More to come with that in session 4 with Caitlin. All right, next subheading. Time for some tangible take-home resources that you can actually use. So get your cameras ready. I'm going to put up some QR codes. If you're watching this video, I'm not going to use time to actually pause it. But if you, on your end, want to pause the video to give you time to scan the QR code, you can. First one, MBA Research and the Curriculum Center. Scan that QR code. This QR code will take you to the page that I pulled my last 3 points off of, but if you want to know more about utilizing the state's connection, then you need to watch Kathy's session 1. There's the QR code for my last statements. All right, branching off of that, we also want to use the DECA guide. My first year as a DECA advisor, I received the DECA guide, which is this thick catalog-looking magazine in the mail. It's also available for digital download that I reference on my computer all the time and print stuff off of. When I first received it, I flipped through there and I thought, I have no clue what this thing is. And I literally set it on my desk and didn't utilize it because I didn't know that I needed to. Year 2 rolls around and I wore the cover off of that thing and I used it almost daily. Here's the best thing that you can do with it, in my opinion. When a student signs up for a competition or when they're thinking about competition, they're going to have lots of questions. And they're going to say, Mr. Rogers, what am I going to do in this event? Instead of me giving them a half answer off the top of my head, I'm going to turn to the page and show them that page and offer them a copy of that page and say, here's exactly what you need to know for that event. It tells them everything. How many people can be in the event together, if there's a test, if it's a written event, if there's a role play, how long you get to prepare, what to expect, all the details about it, what you need to be good at to compete in that category, and so forth. So if you don't already use it or have the download, there is the QR code for the catalog for DECA, the DECA guide, excuse me. DECA.org. DECA has a couple different websites. The DECA.org is a really good resource for classrooms. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this, but you can go ahead and scan the QR code and see a page that's going to look like this. You can use this in your classroom because it's got, you see the link over on the right in the blue buttons that says Overview, Cool Ideas, Presentations, Lesson Plans, and Worksheets. You can literally click those. They're ready to download. They are ready for you to use in your classroom, that have lesson plans already built, worksheets already built that you can print out and use them. And it's going to go hand in hand with the content that you're teaching on MBA research, but it's going to be produced by DECA. Also going to go hand in hand with what DECA is going to use at competition. So it's great competition prep. Here are a couple different instructional methods that DECA suggests on their website. You can read that on your own. And also here's something that's important. It can also be found in the DECA guide. It is the exam blueprint. So you can locate in there which test your student is going to be taking, which career cluster they're in based on the color, and then it will tell them how many questions to be expecting from a particular area on that test. For example, let's look at the first one. If your student is taking a business administration core exam, they should only expect for that test is going to have 100 questions on it. Only 1 out of those 100 questions will be about business law. However, 15 of those 100 questions will be about communication. That's at the first level, regions. The second column would be state. The third column would be internationals, ICDC. Good resource to have. Also, here is a screenshot from the same website, the DECA.org. Performance indicators that I talked about is the left column. If you want to show a student what they need to be expecting on that judge sheet about performance indicators, you can take them to the area and click on it and it's going to show you. The middle column talks about role play resources. If your student is prepping for a role play and they're nervous or want to practice and they come to you and say, hey, I need some practice material, this is where you need to take them and it will show you past role play examples by the year and you can click on those and download those. Also the same with the exam resources. It's going to give you old exams that they've used. Let's say that you click on one of the, let's say, accounting applications series. It's going to take you to a page like this, which I referenced earlier, that shows you the front. It's going to be the sheet that they receive when they sit down at DECA for competition, 21st Century Skills Performance Indicators. Then on the back of that, it's going to have the situation or the role play. Then it's going to have the instructions to the judge. Normally at a competition, the students don't receive this. However, because this is just practice and it's not an actual competition, we are showing them exactly what to expect the judge to read before the student comes and sits down at their booth. So they can see the judge's perspective before they get to competition. They're going to go, and that's a sample solution produced by DECA. That would be a great answer. Evaluation instructions, There's the judges sheet that I referenced earlier. That is all great resources that you can use to help your students get ready for DECA. Also, you can use those in your classroom to actually do some role plays or exams in your classroom and have students taking turns. Have a couple of them be judges, have a couple of them be in the role play, have them trade around roles. It's great practice for them. You can use that in your classroom. We can also use DECA.org resources for high school competitive events such as DECA competitions. Scan that QR code. It's going to be a little more in depth of what I just showed you a minute ago. Let's take a look. Here are the core clusters that DECA produces, and students can compete in obviously any of the 4 that you see around the top right circle. Underneath that, there are going to be more specific areas that they can compete in. Hopefully you already know that. Once they pick an area, they can watch videos on that to see exactly what to expect. A lot of times students that have never been to DECA have no clue what to expect. You can see this video is going to show them what to expect going into the judges booth, into the prep room. It's just going to let them visualize the area that they're going to be in. And as you can tell, it looks very similar to what we encounter in real life. So that should help ease their nerves and teach them what to expect. It's also got several helpful links over on the right, such as things about how to avoid penalty points, a couple do's and don'ts, sample role play presentations that they can actually watch other students do. That's a great thing in my opinion. It also has a link to this poster, which I keep hanging in my room, and I'm sure several of you do as well. But if you don't have it and want to download it, you can through that QR code. Here's one of the team decision-making events. There's one of these for for exams and for all kinds of different competitions. But if this were a team decision-making event and they were competing in business, law, and ethics, then this gives them a quick, easy to look at, same as the DECA guide, just an online version of it, what to expect with the description. Obviously, it's 2 participants. There is an exam, 1 case study, and a second for finalists. They have 30 minutes prep time, 15 minutes interview time. I was not using my DECA guide the first year, and I should have been just for that information. Also, here's one of the big things that comes with doing it online and not using the actual DECA guide. Look at the online where it says resources. There's guidelines, performance indicators, boom, sample exam and sample event. You can take a student to that and have them click on that and see exactly what to expect with the exam and what to expect with the event based on previous years for every single possible thing they could sign up for DECA. So when your students are trying to pick out what they want to compete in, that should be very helpful. Personal tip. Here's hopefully the biggest takeaway you can have from this session. I use all of these links on the right to make customized study guides for every student that I have competing in DECA. Last year I took 76 students to state, and I went through, and for every student, if they're competing in business, law, and ethics, I would click on all 4 of those hyperlinks, the guidelines, performance indicators, the sample exam, and sample event, print them off, staple them together in a thick packet, and I would give that to them, and I would say, listen, Katie, Jennifer, this is just for you. It is a personalized study guide for you and for your event. I didn't give this to any other student because no other student from our school is competing in this event. So it's going to be different. So you have to hang on to this. And if you want to do well at state, you need to study this and let this be your guide, because it will be the same materials that you're going to get when you sit down at state to compete. So if you can get this in your brain, you will do well and have a great chance at going to ICDC. You're welcome to do the same. It's very time consuming. My students utilized it way more than I ever expected them to. Also, Shop DECA. If you have not been on the website, it's a different website than the DECA.org. There's a screenshot of it. DECA teachers are automatically DECA professional members, which means that you will receive a $200 gift card to Shop DECA each year. So my first year and my second year, I received $200, and I could go onto this Shop DECA, use the $200 gift card to buy anything I want. Here's the key. You can buy practice materials for your students. There's a plethora of anything from flashcards to books to practice exams to practice role plays, all sorts of stuff that you can utilize. So highly suggest, don't let that gift card go unnoticed, and use Shop DECA. There's the QR code for it. That is my session. This was originally session 2. Up next is Andrea with session 3, where she will be talking about DECA competition tips and general info should go hand in hand with this presentation. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me. My email is marcus.rogers@taylor.kyschools.us. Thanks.